What is most important for us at Backbase is that when a bank embarks on its engagement banking transformation, it's doing so in a way that re-architects itself around the customer. It's not a technology project. As much as we are a technology company, the focus needs to be on the customer. So when a bank approaches us and asks us to be a part of their transformation, we want to partner with them and therefore want to make sure that they align to our values around that. So we'll first work with them to understand what is their business value in mind that they want to achieve, and how do they intend to re-architect around the customer. And based on those markers, we'll deploy options and give them options to choose between delivery models. So how do you want to actually implement this project with us, with a partner, yourselves? Deployment models. Are you ready to go full Backbase as a service in the cloud? Would you like to deploy on-premise? What does your regulation allow? And what is best for your customers? So I think how we usually respond to this is we ensure that they are doing it for the right reasons, and then we help them choose the right different options that align to their business value and align to those reasons. And then we go. We begin agile transformation and iteratively we implement. So engagement banking is a new category, somewhat like CRM wasn't a category until it was sort of defined as what it is today, and now it's something we use all the time. Engagement banking, or the engagement banking platform, is a category that we've almost invented, so it is important to define it for ourselves, our customers and their customers. And how we do that is really goes back to the platform economy. Now, as consumers, the way that we use services is through underlying platforms. We're being connected to services through technology platforms like Uber, like Netflix, like Airbnb, Spotify. And in the banking world, it shouldn't be any different. So for us, engagement banking is using an engagement platform to connect banking customers, whether they be businesses or consumers, with the financial services that they require. Now, the bank doesn't need or always need to be the company that provides those underlying services. It could be a fintech that the bank connects through and surfaces on its engagement banking platform. So for us, how we define it is making sure that customers can engage through their bank with services that meet their financial needs, whether that being growing their business, could be lending, it could be transactional, it could even be beyond banking in the new neobanks and digital banking. Ultimately, the bank and the bank app becomes your home to do all of that. They orchestrate that through their engagement banking platform, and the underlying technology providers could come from anywhere. And that's what engagement banking means for us, and what the new definition of this category is, as Backbase has defined itself as an engagement banking platform. So this is a mistake I think is often made, and it starts actually from how it is communicated to the board. It is often when the funding is gotten from the banking boards for these digital transformations that it is treated as a project. We would like a certain amount of funding for this thing, and then the board somehow expects that it's going to have a beginning date and an end date, and that it's going to achieve a certain number of deliverables or outputs. And then it becomes a checkbox exercise. So it's not a project, because all of those things I've just mentioned are not what engagement banking transformation is. It's never going to have an end date. And it is a massive misconception we're trying to correct in the market. This is the new way of engaging with customers. It doesn't mean that in November 2023 it will be complete and then you no longer need to put effort into it. The other reason it's not a project is that it's not as simple as going and fetching a bunch of checklist items and going, okay, great, we did that, and therefore everything will magically be successful. And this goes back to what I said earlier about it's not about technology, but about our customers and our company culture and the way that we intertwine the two to provide these engagement banking services. If you, as a bank, think that that is something that you can do easily, or something that you can do by turning a key and it will all magically happen, I'm afraid that you're going to be one of the 70% of digital transformations that fail. So, as you say, each bank is individual in its own way, but at Backbase we work with 150 plus of them around the world. So I think we're quite well positioned to note what we've seen keeps coming up, both as success stories as well as roadblocks. And some of the major commonalities we've seen are that as they embark on these transformations, it is constrained to one department within the bank, and that is a commonality that is a roadblock. But it is absolutely something I've seen in almost every bank. It's either seen as an IT project, a marketing project, sometimes if you're lucky, a strategy project, but nobody really understands that digital transformation is something that every single department within the bank needs to contribute towards and be measured on its success. That's one of the major commonalities we're seeing. The second is that all banks are undergoing this almost simultaneously, and that the pressure to do so, to actually get results out of it and not just have it as something that's sitting on a board item, has increased exponentially in the last 2 years. And that is something we're seeing across the board. For me, this results in, that pressure results in the banks often making short-term decisions where they'll cut a certain budget to try and, basically constrain that cost to income ratio, or push out features before thinking of sustainability, how to maintain something, how to bring it into the program as something that is, not a project. And I'm seeing that as a commonality as well. Massive market pressure causing quite short-term decision making. And then I think the third is, and it's one that goes back to that customer question from earlier. It is starting to, or not quickly enough, should I say rather, seeing it from an outside-in perspective. This is not something that you are delivering to people. This is something that your customers need to be a part of. Massive commonality that we're seeing. Every bank is unique, but all of them need to operate less in silos and more in collaboration with their customers, because they are no longer competing with each other. They are competing for the attention of their customers, and that attention is being taken by the engagement platforms like Uber, Netflix, Airbnb, and the fintechs. Ultimately, the choice is yours as the executives inside the bank on who leads your transformation. Your DNA, your culture, and the market pressures will guide you into what the right decision is. You can either choose to have a leader come in from the inside, someone who's been around for a while, and have your whole C-suite work together with them, mandated to bring this transformation forward. Or you can choose to bring in an experienced transformation leader, usually from another industry, often from another company, because if they knew how to do it, they would have done it by now. And I think that the way that you make that decision is often based on the DNA of your bank. The DNA, if your C-suite is very close and they're used to be very action-oriented and they aren't all dealing with putting out fires, then maybe it's better if you keep it as the C-suite doing it together, because ultimately that's how you're going to have to run it in the future. But if you find there is insane market pressure, you've dealt with a lot of issues like outages or anything recently that will cause the C-suite members not to be able to focus on this transformation, bring in someone who's done it before. Bring them in from the outside, let them focus on it before you make it business as usual. So these sorts of decisions are made by the banks themselves, but ultimately down to where you are and how you think. The internal culture of a bank in a digital transformation is, for me, the most critical success factor when it comes to making these decisions as they begin their transformation. Because you can impose lots of different rules on a bank, and you can bring in lots of different amazing opportunities and amazing innovations. But if the culture isn't ready, it will reject them and the transformation will fail. If you are a large multinational conglomerate, and you think that you can get this done in 6 months with a speedboat and a small budget, the culture will not allow it. You will have to do it iteratively, and you'll have to bring everybody along on the change management process. Having said that, if your culture is one of massive innovation, you're used to disrupting in the market, continue with that in your digital transformation. Open small speedboat along your bank, let it compete with you, increase the internal competitive pressure and win in the market. That's how important the culture is. It is actually the make or break in the whole process. We have seen many of these transformations go badly. We have seen decisions be made that could have been made differently. And we're fortunate enough to be in the position that, well, even the largest bank in the world has only done this once or a handful of times. We've been able to witness it many, many times. And we felt it was important for us to give back into the financial services community to show people what we've learned, to bring together change makers from all over the world who have unique insights, each one of them, into these processes, and to allow them to create a very practical step-by-step guide for banks going along this transformation. I mentioned a stat earlier about 70% of transformations failing. We do not want our customers to be in that 70%. So this is us trying to help and doing so in a way that's open source and actually giving back to the financial literacy community as well. All proceeds go to financial literacy.